What's up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I'm coming at you guys today with an update to my Harpie link video. So, a year ago, when links were introduced to the TCG, I did a little video to help Harpie players who were playing the game and wanted some additional support to, see what combinations and stuff we have, what were link monsters, and the whole shebang. Well, I had someone not too long ago leave a message on that video saying that they enjoyed the video and a lot of my suggestions. And I figured, well, since it's now been a year, why don't I go through the process again? Why don't I show the combos and the cards that I've used over the year now to, showcase, even if you're playing a casual deck, you still have a lot of options. And I know for a fact that there aren't too many people who are willing to do this. And I wanted to be one of those people who are willing to do it and show my support to a lot of players. So, without further ado, let's get into this because I really wanted to give this video out there for the fact that, one big reason is I am a Harpie player. And I know a lot of people who play Harpies, online, and they would love to see someone help them with newer combinations and stuff like that. In addition, I could care less if it's meta or not meta, but if anyone wants to look or view, they have the right to, and I sure as hell would love to show it off. For those people to watch and for those people to see a lot of the combinations. Maybe if they're looking to want to play a casual deck like Harpies or they're interested in playing Harpies, here's some advantage. Here's, a look at what you can do and the things that you can do. In just an overall sense, I just want to help whoever I possibly can because I remember when I was coming back into the game or coming into the scene around, circa 2009, synchros were the big thing. I didn't know what a synchro monster was. I didn't know what a tuner monster was. I didn't know, the whole entire scenario of what it was. And it did take a while for me to really understand it, get through it, play with, a lot of tactics. But I think when when it went from shift to exceeds from synchros, I was more really competitive with the scene in terms of exceed monsters and the decks that were being built from exceeds and just the overall sense and how awesome it was. So I really did enjoy this, and I hope that this video helps those people who are interested. Not to mention, I wanted to give that concept, do something like that for a lot of people, because I did have the little help, and I think it's not fair that people are holding out on helping people, because they want views and stuff like that. And that's kind of not what, in my opinion, that's not what it's not something you should do. You should do it to help people, especially when you've been in their situation. That's pretty much how I am. And that's what motivates me to want to do this. So just in a quick recap, let's just go over what a link monster is. Link monsters look exactly like this. There are blue cards that will be in the extra deck. In order to summon a link monster, you need to fulfill the requirements. And there's a link counter right here where it says link -2. That's actually supposed to be link 2. Is how it's read. And you use that's the number of monsters that you're going to use when fulfilling the requirements. This was something that I did not point out in my original video because I just figured Firewall Dragon just needed 2 monsters, when in actuality he needed 4, not 2 plus. Now the 2 plus was an indication of link monsters because link monsters all have this link 2 on the bottom. So they also count for summoning other link monsters. So say for instance like Decode Talker, who was featured in my original video. If I want to summon Decode Talker, I can use a Great Fly and a Link Spider because they're 2 effect monsters who share links that count in total for the link summon of Decode Talker. Not to mention, throughout the year, we've had a ton of cards in support to help bring out big monsters like Decode Talker. Now, for everyone at this point in the game, we all have monsters who fulfill the attributes of dark, wind, light, water, fire, and earth. I don't have Hoshinigin in Witch's Apprentice. However, I do so happen to... Okay, I don't have them in here. I do have a copy of Miss Malice Radiant on me, so I can at least show him off. In how he's one of the 6 monsters next to Great Fly that were part of the whole monsters who have specific attributes, who need specific attribute monsters to summon them to benefit the specific attribute, and then hurt the corresponding attribute. This is ironic because Great Fly and Malice Radiant are their complete opposite of each other. One supports wind but hurts earth, the other supports earth but hurts wind. Doolittle Chimera is fire, Miss Starboy's water, who is it? Wee Witch's Apprentice is dark, and Hip Hoshinigin is light. So Konami did make sure we had those monsters in prep, but unfortunately they came kinda in not batches, but they came like one after the other. Hip Hoshinigin and Wee Witch's Apprentice were the 2 that came simultaneously. So I kind of feel bad for Light and Dark, but they had enough monsters anyway to really support them. The generic stuff was just there to be there. So I'm just going to give a quick recap of cards that I use throughout the year. Even despite the fact that this is Harpie, I did use some generic support when building, and I'll explain like a lot of reasons behind the generic support. But in terms of Harpie support, if you're playing Harpies, of course, you have your access to all your monsters who are treated as Harpie that you order and fill in the graveyard. So with cards like Hysteric Party and Elegant Egotist, you have a ton of advantages throughout the archetype to really get a hold of summoning multiple monsters, getting them to the field, and going into your link plays. In addition, we can even talk about Harpie Chandler. Well, actually, before I talk about Harpie Chandler on her own, we have the original Harpie ladies. Each of them are treated as Harpie ladies on the field, graveyard, deck, and stuff like that. So they were primarily your bigger targets when you're playing your Elegant Egotist, unless you want to run Harpie Sisters. But even in that said case, you have a ton of support within Harpies to summon not only the Harpie Lady Winged Beast, but could summon any of the Harpie Dragons. And as much as, Sisters and Baby aren't really used, you can always use them for a link summon if you want to actually go into that. Otherwise, they're just kind of their monsters. And you can easily pitch them with Harpie Chandler. So, with that said, we can move these guys over, and we can talk about Harpie's Pet Dragon and Harpie Chandler. The fact that these 2 help get into a lot of your rank 7 plays. There is one monster in the extra deck who, specifically when I was told about it, helped me really go crazy with link summoning, and I was really glad to be like, I really do want to thank a lot of my viewers for pointing it out to me, because it was a very useful monster. It was a very useful tactic. I actually have not gone back to a rank 4 build of Harpies for the last 4 months, and I've tried to go back, but I can't, because what Dragon does in terms of just being a monster to help you link summon, exceed summon, helps you bring out monsters like Draco Sack and Mega Family's Draco Sack and Galaxy Tomahawk to really allow you to go into tokens and take advantage of tokens. I'm looking for my Draco Sack. Okay, well, it's not in this pile. Here it is. Okay, so it allows you to go into tokens and create tokens and do a whole lot of things in the face of tokens. Even though there are some Exceed monsters Link monsters who exclude tokens, you can at least go into monsters who are tokens and then benefit from, when you go into monsters who do use tokens, and then go into those monsters who don't include tokens. So at least that way you can flood the board with a lot of stuff, like Link Spider is a monster that you can use a token on, because tokens are now considered normal monsters. They only gain their assassin effects through the effects of the spell or trap or monster effect that brings them out. So in that case, it helps in a lot of sense to make a lot of the big plays and a lot of big push plays when you're doing your link summoning and you're trying to generate multiple monsters. So that's the reason why a lot of players have went back to Harpie's Pet Dragon. Despite the fact that it isn't relatively the most beloved Harpie monster, because technically that's still Chandler, but it does help her go into bigger monsters and have bigger support in range. Now for some other supporting cast, if you want to fit in some synchros, go ahead. There's a variety of tuners that you can use, even the hand traps. But a lot of people are still generating the tokens and stuff, so this could possibly potentially help you in terms of what you do after you get your monster. Like Darkspear can help you retrieve a winged beast from the graveyard. Soldier being a tuner can help you go into your level 7s, and even during Darkspear being a tuner, you can go into a lot of your 7s with these two monsters. I will sell some generic support to help special summon in to the field. One of them actually is Flying Kamakiri number 1. I know it's a little strange to see him here, but that's actually what a lot of people were doing, was just using whatever support they could to bring more monsters to the board, to special summon other monsters from the deck, and then get a number of total monsters to really help continuously summon link monsters. In the same sense, Garuda the Wind Spirit is something I'm actually trying out currently, because you don't want to banish your Harpies because you get a full benefit of using your Harpie support. But because of all the other wind monsters in the game that you're probably using in your extra deck, you can easily just take advantage of Garuda. And Garuda can be an additional summon, in the sense of Flying Kamakiri also being an additional summon. And you can go into multiple Great Flies, or you can go into other Link monsters, just off of their ability to summon newer monsters. Since we were talking about monsters being able to summon monsters, Monk has been a staple for Harpie since its release, and then since the release of Synchro Monsters, because it has the ability to help you go into tuners, especially the low-level tuners, and monsters can bring out other monsters, and just go from there. So that is the equation of Monk. Hysteric Sign helps get his Elegant Egotist, increase your hand with Harpie cards when it's destroyed. Very good support card for Harpies, just in an overall sense of how it helps you get those spams, but it also helps you replenish your hand to get more ready for a bigger spam or a rebuttal play. Divine Wind of the Mist Valley and Swallow's Nest, attribute and specific typing cards, specific type card advantage can help in a ton of ways, getting you access to Winged Beast through Swallow's Nest, allowing you to swap in the Harpie Chandler, swap out Harpies to go search for Harpie Chandler, and bring in Dancer and stuff. While Divine Wind, using the effects of cards that return cards to the field, using effects like Harpie Dancer and Harpie Harpist, returning your wind monsters. You can spam more wind monsters and really take advantage of the spam of the board. Now, Inferno Reckless Summon, on the other hand, is kind of one of my downplay cards, because I liked Inferno Reckless Summon for a minute, and by the time that minute went away, I was like, nope, I am dropping this. And the reason why I did eventually drop it was because of the massive things that accounted for it. I wasn't really able to summon a lot of my monsters because they weren't 1500 or less. In a sense, I'd have to make sure that Harpie Dancer, I was running vanilla Harpie Lady in order to ensure this card was running sufficiently. I did have to make sure I wasn't giving Harpie Lady 1 any presents, because she'll increase their attack strength and make them harder to summon. Another downside to this is my opponent has to control a monster. Then I'm allowing my opponent to summon multiple copies of that monster if that monster isn't from the extra deck. Or forbid, they have copies of monsters in the graveyard of the monster that I'm trying to get rid of, and they're bringing multiple copies of that monster to the board. Now, on the bright side to this card, it is a swarm, so you can bring any number of Harpie monsters you want to the field. because they're all sharing Harpie Lady or on the field in the graveyard. So if you got a couple of beat sticks like Cyber Harpie or Harpie Queen, if you have your Harpie Lady ones in the graveyard, your Harpist, another Chandler or such, you can pretty much go into a lot of things with this card. But some people don't prefer to run it because of all the stipulations against it. But I did want to bring attention to it because I did eventually run it this year, and I eventually did, like, I did use it, but then I cut it out. But if anyone wants to run it, you still have that option too, and I want to point it out for you guys. In terms of tokens, Scapegoat, and I think just token makers in general, because I can even talk about Make a Fan of Each Draco Stack, and I can talk about Galaxy Tomahawk. Despite there being a lot of cards that exclude token makers, these token cards are a prime example of cards that were allowing you to be able to summon monsters from your deck without any hesitation, or summon monsters to your field without any hesitation, and really take advantage of the tokens. Going into stuff like Link Spiders, and going into Firewall Dragon, going into Sarudra Dreadskull, going into little monsters to go into big monsters to set up for big plays and rebuttals. It was all thanks to the tokens this year. Unfortunately, we did lose Dandelion in the process, and Dandy was one of the big token makers. Another big token maker was Gofu, the Vague Shadow, were some standalones. Unfortunately, we did lose them prior to this video, but there were some additional help that I did enjoy playing in Harpies, so I do want to pay respects to them in terms of that. But tokens can be very helpful. Tokens can be very useful if you're playing them correctly and if you get the setup right. Now, with that said, generic special summoning support can range from any means. You can also use trap cards, even though most people say the trap cards tend to be slow. If your archetype has a hysteric sign, hysteric party, no matter how slow it is, play it. Because eventually you're going to need it when you're going to start summoning a lot of your big monsters. So don't let what a lot of people say slow you down if you want to run trap cards, because they're even running trap cards, even if it's Solemn Strike, Solemn Warning, Solemn Judgment, and stuff like that. Counter traps are still trap cards, and you still have to wait to activate them, unless they're hand traps like Featherstorm or Red Reboot. But those have specific stipulations themselves. So everything, for the most part, has specific stipulations, even the staples. But I did want to bring, to the forefront that if you have various monster summoning from the graveyard, go ahead and take it. Even if it's the smallest summon, take advantage of it. For people who are running Soul Charge, your only big downside is you can't conduct battle phase and the amount of life points you're using. But if you're going to go for it, go for it. Monster Reborn, not in the same sense as Soul Charge, but you can get monsters from your opponent's graveyard, you can get monsters from your graveyard, and you may get a lot of cards live again. Symbols of Heritage is actually a card if you're running a deck like Cyber Dragons or Harpies, where monsters share the same name and you're going to be running multiples of those monsters. Take advantage of that card, because this can help summon one of those monsters, and then you can pretty much go crazy with a lot of special summons if possible, which is part of the reason why I was running Symbol of Heritage, just to do a lot of that. So that's pretty much it for just the main stuff. In terms of extra deck, I did show off Galaxy Tomahawk, and I did show off Make a Fan of Each Draco Stack, and I guess now I can talk about Greyfly. Oh no, I did talk about Greyfly. So I had to talk about Greyfly. Firefighter Darumadaw. Firefighter Darumadaw is one of those monsters that supports multiple archetypes, multiple decks that support multiple archetypes. You can summon this by sending two winged beast or beast warrior monsters from your side of the field to the graveyard to summon it. When it attacks and destroys a monster by battle, you can add a beast warrior, or winged beast monster that is banished or in your graveyard to your hand. And so it helps with a lot of replenishing. I've used this like once or twice. It's not a bad card, it's just a little slow, in my opinion, because it doesn't have a really big base. You can use it to spam the tokens, so if you're going for that direction. And it does help you retrieve a lot of your cards, even the banished stuff. So you have a little bit of banished support. That's kind of why I did put back in Garuda the Wind Spirit, and possibly build something around Garuda thanks to this card. Of course, we're going to talk about Decode Talker, the first of the Link monsters that came into play. And I also wanted to point out the things about monsters who lead specific monsters to multiple monsters in order to do their summon. So Saruja, Dreadroot, stuff like that, just to point those out. But part of the reason why I just went back to Decode Talker, because I just didn't feel comfortable wasting a whole lot of life points and stuff or just wasting monster material to summon a whole bunch of monsters and not really get much out of it. Whereas I can make a play of going from one monster into Decode Talker and benefiting from it. I.e., I can go from my Harpie Chandler, Harpie Dragon, go into my Galaxy Tomahawk, and then go into various of tokens, go into stuff from there, and then just go crazy off of that. So it's a lot of beneficial support that can pay off eventually. But for some people, they didn't want to run a lot of these things, and I understand. But for some people who do, you have a lot of your options, and don't ever look at Gift Force in the mouth because you might need it. So, with that said, and then I can also talk about Link Spider and how, if you're running Harpie Lady 1, this is a good example of cards. If you're running Scapegoat, take advantage of it, because a lot of cards, like I said, don't use tokens. Rather use effect monsters or monsters with different names and stuff, so take advantage of Link Spider if you can. Some honorable mentions, Gaia Saber, because it's a Link monster that has no restrictions to its summon, except for needing 3 monsters. And Trigate Wizard, who, okay, yeah, I do have them. And Trigate Wizard, who, even though it doesn't require you to have, you can't use tokens to summon it, you still have access to a large portion of things you can do with it. This depending on its code links and stuff, but I'm not getting the code links because I don't use code links. So I did want to bring up the 2 of them. And just this is like my extra deck in terms of just the monsters I use. If you're building rank 4, always stick to your staples. Always stick to the monsters in your extra deck. If you do have to deplete them down to running 1-ofs or cutting out monsters, because you need to fit in the Link monsters. Why is the extra deck not 20 instead of 15? I don't know. Whatever. But, if you're like, in just some suggestions for any Harpie players, you have Tornado Dragon, you still have Lightning Chidori, you have Phantasmal, you have Castel, you have Ice Beast. So don't be afraid to use the monsters that helped you during XU format. Even though you do have to press for space, don't forget about the little people, because those little people did help you. I talked about Drago Sack. We can talk about, all the monsters that I use, honestly. Like, I didn't really cut much out. I just start working around a lot of the stuff that I use. Even if you're synchro summoning and you're using tuners, don't be afraid to put your synchro monsters in there. Like, even though Link summoning was supposed to slow us down, it really didn't hurt a large portion of things. It just slowed us down a little bit. But never fear, because you have your advantages, you have things you can take advantage of, and just, on those mindsets, go into those things and really take advantage of it. So, I was going to show combos and stuff, but I'll probably just leave that to a whole nother video, because I just wanted to talk and just, go over, the things and the changes and stuff like that. I'll probably do a separate video to show you guys the combinations and stuff, because I don't want this video to go for too long. So we'll call this part 1 of Harpie and Links updated, and then in part 2 of Harpie Links, we'll go through the combinations, and I'll show you guys how I do the workarounds and stuff. So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you have any comments or stuff, or want to talk about your experience with Link format, leave it in the comment section below. like, comment, subscribe. Thank you everyone for watching, and we're finally done with year 1 of links, and hope year 2 goes well. So thank you everyone for watching. HBJ signing out. Take care.